Oh, good morning, y'all. Jesus is still Lord. Thank God the Word works. You know, we just got to receive what the Word says and do it. I've been talking to you for the last couple of days now about the authority of the believer, or the authority that the believer has. Most of them don't know it and don't use it. Hosea 4:6 says, My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. I mean, the church, the body of Christ, the Christians in this world, seem to listen to what the world says and receive what the world says more than listening to and receiving what the Word says, because God doesn't want you to have all that yuck that's in the world. Now, there's a story in the Old Testament. I've been dealing with some of these Old Testament scriptures a lot that just always kind of blesses me and tickles me too at the same time. And that is that the children of Israel have been in bondage for 400 years, and Moses came to deliver them. And after they got out into the wilderness, they didn't even want the deliverance. They said, would that we had died back there as slaves. Well, I sometimes think the church is like that. Would that we had died with the sicknesses of the world, cancer and COVID-19 and flu and all that stuff. We're not supposed to have none of that. But we're going to have to take authority and say, y'all don't come in here. I'm not having you. Now, the children of Israel was in a little area called the land of Goshen. Now, it was just a big camp within Egypt. It wasn't its own country out there, but it was in this place called the land of Goshen. And when the curses began to come on Egypt, then Israel didn't have not one of the curses come on their land because they were protected by God. Now, I got some great news. I'm protected by God. God's got his eyes on me, and it's for good things. Oh, I'm so blessed. Man, yesterday I just realized how blessed I am. I mean, we're blessed. But now, there was the curse of the frogs. There was the curse of the hailstones. I mean, there was all kinds of curses came on the children of Egypt because they wouldn't let my people go. That's what God told Pharaoh, let my people go. And when they wouldn't, the curses began to come. And one of them was a curse of frogs. Man, there were frogs everywhere. Now, here in the South, we say frogs. Little frogs, big frogs, all kinds of frogs. Frogs in your bed. Frogs in your coffee pot. Frogs, when you go to sit down, you sit down on frogs. When you go outside, you're stepping on frogs. There's frogs everywhere. But in this little place down there called the land of Goshen, there wasn't not one frog, not one. They didn't have the curse because it's not the design nor the will of God for you to be under the curse. And so after a couple of days with these frogs everywhere, man, you sit down to eat, these frogs jump up on your plate. I mean, there's frogs everywhere. And so finally Moses goes to when Pharaoh calls him, he says, what can I do for you? Pharaoh says, man, get rid of these frogs. And so Moses says, okay, when would you like for me to get rid of them? He said, tomorrow about this time. And I thought, what's wrong with that crazy guy? Why don't he say, right now would be all right? Hey, we're the redeemed. Get this, you're the redeemed. And there is a quote, I like to call it the bloodline around my property. Frogs can't get in. Hailstones can't get in. We're so redeemed from the curse that we don't have to be concerned about storms coming our way. Now, today they're calling for a possibility of severe weather in Alabama, across the whole southeast. Well, it's not going to come nigh my dwelling. I've had enough of that. Don't need more of it, and I don't want any more of it. And God's going to protect me and keep it from coming to my land. And somebody said, well, I know somebody that was a believer and a tornado just tore up his house. But he wasn't a believing believer or a receiving believer that received the fact that he had been the redeemed, and he doesn't have to have that. I believe it's Romans chapter 8. I don't know the exact verse, but I know it's in the book of Romans. I think it's chapter 8 that says, he that hath received the abundance of grace, and that's me. I have received the abundance of grace. He that hath received the abundance of grace does reign in life. Okay, now it's very simple. I've received the abundance of grace. If you're born again, you receive the abundance of grace. Seems like sometimes I've received more than everybody else. I'm a very, very blessed individual. So I've received the abundance of the grace of God. Grace of God is getting things that you don't deserve. I didn't deserve all the good things God's done for me. I don't deserve, that's what grace is all about, is God doing for you what you don't really deserve and what you cannot do for yourself. Grace of God. But he that has received the abundance of grace, it goes on to say, shall rule. I like to change that word. It means the same thing. Shall reign in life. So I tell sickness, you don't have a right here. One of our granddaughters, we've got 11 grandchildren, but one of them lives right next door to us. So I walk a bloodline around my property and hers and say, y'all don't have a right to come in here. She's got 2 little baby girls, precious little girls. And listen, we don't want the flu. And it would be very evil of me to go down there and take some kind of a bad disease, flu disease or coronavirus disease or whatever, and give it to those little baby girls. In fact, they call that child abuse. And, the authorities, whoever they are, would probably come and investigate me if I was doing that. And yet Christians think God gave them some kind of sickness in order to teach them something. Oh, no, that's stupid, what that is. What you have to do is take your authority and say, indigestion? No, you don't come in here. See, the devil's kind of got a flip chart. You have a bad pain, chest pains, and the devil says, you're going to have a heart attack. No, I'm redeemed. My heart is fixed. I don't believe that. And so then he comes along, well, you got a hernia, and no, I don't believe for no hernia. I don't believe that either. And then he tries this one. Well, you ate that pizza and it was past 6 o'clock and you got a bad case of indigestion from the pizza. Oh, yeah, I guess that's what it is. And you sit there with it all night and can't sleep because you received that part. No. I don't have indigestion from that pizza I ate. I have authority over that just like I do everything else. You're going to have to learn to walk in your authority, realize that you've been made a king and a priest unto God. Kings rule. Kings don't accept what everybody else tells them they have to have. Hey, I got to go. I'll get back on this tomorrow. You're a king and a priest unto God, so you rule. You've received the abundance of grace, so therefore you reign. But you have to know what you reign over, take authority over it. And until I'm with you tomorrow, saints, have a great day. Remember, Jesus is Lord. Thank God. Hey, the word works.